Hello everyone, thank you for listening to His Dork Materials. I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you today about Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor.fm, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Not only is it free, but the creation tools are included that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's up, everybody? Welcome to, again, rebranding because I think people were confused. I was certainly confused. I tried to Google the show earlier today and found 300 other shows that were not this one.
Oof.
So I decided, you know what?
Yikes.
Fuck it. We're His Dork Materials again. So welcome back, His Dork Materials.
I just like it anyways because we're a bunch of dorks anyways.
And
so
it just makes them up.
It's good.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
good.
it.
It's a good name. No one else has taken it. There is a website that does like His Dork Materials related stuff, but there are no podcasts, and there also there's no podcast related stuff. So if you Google His Dork Materials podcast, we should be the only thing that pops up. Maybe the website, but that's easily ignorable. You don't get a bunch of what are those terrible USA original series? Bandersnatch, whatever the fuck they're called. Anyway,
Black Mirror thing?
No. Vanderpod.
Vanderpod.
Vanderpods. I think it's on USA. I don't actually know. I don't watch that show, but that's not why you're here.
You're here because you don't watch Picard. But we did.
We watched Picard.
We are sacrificing our bodies on that cross so you don't have to.
We did get some good
Willingly?
news.
I'm not going to say willingly though.
I didn't say willingly. I just said that we're doing it.
We did get some possible good news at the end of this episode that we'll talk about later. So maybe something to look forward to. But for now, I'm going to introduce myself as Josh.
I am the Commodore.
And I'm the best bro, Heather.
Actually, real quick, I'm pretty sure we noped the fuck out of this as soon as possible. Did we even watch the next time on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, fuck. I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, it's because we'll talk about it.
Okay.
It's the shit that I was like, yeah, none of that shit's going to happen until 30 seconds before it's over.
Oh, no. I remember it now. That's right. Okay. I'm back.
Yeah. Just a quick note for CBS marketing team: don't put the last 10 seconds of your episode in every preview for the next episode.
Yeah, please stop doing that.
Because we're just going to guess that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious, and you're just waiting the whole time for the scene at the end of the episode to come, and then when it comes, the episode's over, and I don't like it. Not just for spoilers, which it's that too, but you're just waiting for that one iconic scene.
Yeah.
And obviously it doesn't help that with me this one not as much, but it doesn't help that everything happens in the last 5 minutes of every episode.
Seriously.
This has a couple things happen, which I think is an improvement.
Yeah, there was a little bit more action than previous episodes.
So that was good. Things happened in the middle.
We still hit the 20-minute mark, and I'm just like, any fucking time now, anything at all. But
this had 15 minutes of things happening instead of 5, so
yeah.
They tripled they tripled their content in this episode. I was worried for a moment that we weren't going to get anything at all, but then things started rolling. So yeah,
although it does do
exactly what you think it's going to do?
Well, it does to a lesser extent, but it does the thing that I hated from episode 2 pretty early on, where they're intercutting what is currently happening with a conversation about what's going to be happening currently, and they just keep swapping back and forth between those two as if that is not confusing, and for some reason they feel like the show wouldn't work if they just did the setup scene and then went and did the plan, or better yet, you do I'm not going to say better yet. Or you just do the reverse of that, where you show up to a certain, you show the current timeline right up to the point of things going sideways, and then you start back and then watch how they got up to that point. And then you go, once you're done with that commercial break, you come back and then you start again from that where it goes sideways and then continue forward. You don't have to keep cutting back between conversations about the thing they're gonna go do, and then we flash to them doing that thing, and it's like it's not Ocean's 11. You don't have to.
That's what I was gonna say. Ocean's 11 was this, but how you do it well.
Yeah,
where you think, oh, a thing happened, and then Steven Soderbergh shows you what really is what the characters are doing, and you go, oh, okay,
yeah.
But he shows you it after it's already after the action has kind of deflated. It doesn't deflate the action every time. In the middle of the scene. Yeah. So yeah, I will put my hand up and say that during watching the episode, I had to stop it and kind of make sure that I wasn't, or that I was confused, because it has been previously established in this series that Captain Rio has a bunch of holograms of himself going all over the place. So in the middle of a conversation,
all over the ship.
Sure, all over the ship. But also you show him beaming down, and you're intercutting that with him talking to Raffi. And my assumption is that it's a hologram down there the whole time until like a certain point in the episode. And then I was like, oh, they're doing the cutting back and forth thing that I didn't like again.
Well, because like she specifically says, like, I set you up a good ID down there. And then we cut back to, which is like the first line, and then it cuts to them all standing around, talking about the plan, and just like, so did they just send? And it's one of those things where it's like, well, he's in the same outfit, so is this a flashback, or are they gonna do like a bait and switch thing where like if shit goes sideways, the hologram can't get shoot out of there. Stuff, but like if they need somebody. If they like use the hologram to infiltrate and then swap them so that he can be there to like play a support role if need be. But that's too in depth for this fucking show.
You guys are giving this show way too much credit.
Yeah, the reality is that
they have terrible editors.
I'm
gonna go with I understood what was happening the whole time. I understood that they were just doing a shitty jump back and forth.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and blame... I don't want to blame old Johnny Frakes, because I don't think he has that much control over the show. But I don't know if it's Alex Kurtzman or Michael Chabon that is running the show. But I'm going to say it's one of the two of them that really likes doing this thing where you're cutting back and forth between two conversations.
Yeah.
And
I think as far as like what Frakes was in charge of as the director of this episode was getting performances out of people. And I feel like for the most part,
which is pretty typical of what a director is.
Yeah. And like anything editing tone of the episode outside of that is all going to be the actual showrunner. And then, but, so I feel like he did his job in this episode.
Yeah.
There are a couple of moments that I was kind of like, why are you doing this way? But we'll get to that.
I don't know why we need to keep cutting back 13 to 14 years in the past. I'm not sure what that does, other than making everything happen around the same time. But like I don't know. And just anytime the show starts XX years ago, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. Also, a cold open on just like
Somebody's eyeball getting ripped out.
yeah, not as
Super glad we were eating dinner for that part.
super glad. As much as I don't need F-bombs in my Star Trek, I also don't need Hostile or Saw to be in my Star Trek. Like that just definitely immediately took a real bad turn that I was not prepared and or okay with.
Yeah. This is where we find out that the writer of the show, I assume, had seen the like the glossary explainer for Voyager because of some pieces of information later they get horribly incorrectly stated.
Yeah.
And then also because this show again gives us a flashback to a thing that we recognize, and it immediately kills that thing. Because for those of you that watch Voyager, Icheb makes a very brief return.
Oof.
Before he gets blown away by Seven of Nine, who once again portrayed by Jerry Ryan, which is good to see a returning face. This one in particular. Yeah, none of the cold open stuff did anything for me. I was
Other
over
than
it
just
pretty
make
quick.
me stare at my dinner while it was happening.
Yeah. It doesn't tell us anything. I mean, eventually it does, but it doesn't give us anything that we wouldn't have been able to have gotten. If we didn't know that, I feel like the twist would have worked better because we kind of know things aren't what, like.
Yeah, so we if you're listening to this, we're going to assume you've seen the episode. So I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit. Showing the actual like dissection of the dude, not necessary. That entire scene being at the beginning of this episode, not necessary. If you have everything play out as it does, but at the moment where everybody realizes why 7 of 9 is there, and then she talks about finding him, and then you just get the flashback of her finding him on the table and then like shooting him, just putting him out of his misery. If you have that flashback just there,
Yeah.
that works so much better.
Which they do. Like,
Which they do because the show loves to
show you something and then show it to you again later because you've forgotten 20 minutes later what you've been watching.
yes, and also just saying having one statement and then writing 7 lines of dialogue that are that one statement but with different words.
Yeah.
That is another thing this show loves to do.
And do you know why?
Because they need to fill 43 minutes.
They need to fill 430 minutes of this show and they didn't come up with a story to do it with. So instead, they're just going to fucking pad this shit out.
Oof.
So we get to watch every scene 2 or 3 I feel like we've seen everything 2 or 3 times already in this.
Yeah.
Like everything this show has to offer, we've already seen it like 2 or 3 times. It is a small blessing that Soji isn't in this episode, which
But don't worry. But wait, there's more.
there's more. It is a small blessing that Soji isn't in this episode, since her entire last episode was just repeating what we already knew about her again. Yeah. But don't worry, folks. If you like inappropriate love, if you like inappropriate romances between 2 characters that are wildly age different, this show fills its quota again.
God damn.
With a 16-year age gap.
Yeah,
this
I
time.
was gonna say Heather did the math on this one, and I said this watching the show, and I'm gonna make the stupid joke again, but like this show's daddy obsession irks me in just the worst way. I am not here for it at all.
I don't know if that's Michael Chabon or Alex Kurtzman again, but I'm gonna lean towards Alex Kurtzman only because. Wait, did he work on Lost? Maybe not.
I do not know.
I'm going to double check that. But I know there's a lot of daddy issues on that show, which J.J. Abrams produced.
Yeah.
And he's good friends with Alex Kurtzman, so I feel like. Oh, and also Alex Kurtzman is the guy that wrote the Chris Pine movie about him trying to bang his sister, played by Elizabeth Banks.
No.
So this guy's got some issues. So I'm going to put this on Alex Kurtzman. He's got some problems. Homie, get yourself straight before you try to write any more shows.
God, like I'm tired of like you know what, if I'm not gonna like shit on people who are in relationships and are like, if you connect with somebody and they just happen to have an age difference at a certain point, like whatever, it's a thing, it's fine, don't like, but stop writing in this like old man young woman bullshit into shows and movies like that. That specific dynamic is the one that I'm just like, make it stop. Like, I don't know. That's, well, I guess a slippery slope, but like,
the
it's
problem
gross,
is
y'all.
the problem is that it's 99% that dynamic.
Yeah.
And if it's not the other, if it's the other way around, it's always that's what the movie's about.
Yeah.
Because it's like, here's a gross old woman and a young man, and it's gross, and we're going to do a movie about it, and one of them has to die at the end by somebody else.
Yeah. Or it's a, like...
national scandal.
Or it's like she thinks she's past her prime, but Brian doesn't think so. Rom-com music. Or I think the best like version of this that I think I have seen is on a Netflix show, Grace and Frankie, where they have Jane Fonda, who is in a relationship with
Peter
McEyebrows.
It's definitely not his name.
No, it's not. But why can't I remember his last name right now?
Oh yeah, I can't. It's not coming to me.
It's not coming to me right now. But like at that age point, like she's old, he's old. I don't fucking care. Like it's not weird and gross.
Everybody's old.
Like it's just one of those things. Like that. Yeah, but like this thing that they keep doing in this show is the thing that I'm just not
here for.
I'm just not here for. I'm done with it. I just don't care.
Well, it's because part of it is because at the beginning of these relationships, the women are not old enough to drink on their own in the United States in most states.
Yeah,
and the men are preparing for retirement, which is an issue. So, one of the other distracting things, and I know Jonathan has a bit around this character. Which I'm sure she's a fine actress or actor, but I found it distracting the whole time. Her name is
Gallagher. Sorry, Peter Gallagher.
Yeah, Nakar Zadigan. Vajazzle, as Jonathan.
Because her name is what in this show?
Bajazzle.
So her name is Vajazzle. But the only thing that she has going for her is God, that's an awful thing to say. Never mind.
Is her vajazzling?
No. It's just I mean, man? Like it's so I say this not from the standpoint of just like women in Star Trek. I mean this from the standpoint of like the writers give her nothing in this show.
That's true.
They give her one thing.
But it's
kind of gross.
But it's yeah.
Also, there's erasure in this episode that I want to get to as well.
But Vajazzle is nice to look at, so she's got that going for her.
It was distracting that I just kept thinking. I just kept having to remind myself this isn't Marina Sirtis from back in the day, because that's all I could think about is.
Oh yeah.
At first I thought that's what it was. Or like, I was like, okay, is this like a clone? Is this another robot? Like, what is this some sort of Deanna Troi doppelganger? What's going on here? But instead it was just some new character. Yeah. So that was I was like, something's going on here, but nothing went on. Spoilers, nothing went on with this.
No, except for trying to pop your old man, insert mental image here boners later on in the show.
Do we even? I don't think we need to be vague about it. I mean, we're talking about
No, like again, like
the show. We can be as vague as the show is vague, and we'll be so thinly veiled that you can see right through that lesbian top.
yeah.
Hey, I ain't complaining. I have. So
You know,
I'm just saying, like, if the mental image is the two of them, not mad, but also.
You're just gonna be a Nicky man over there today?
You know what? I feel like shit, so yeah, I'm just gonna be gross today.
Be gross today? Just gonna sit over there and be gross? All right.
Just gonna sit here in my grossness.
I got a new grass cat.
Ooh.
I got excited about the grass cat.
It doesn't.
If you get to play your cat game, I get to be gross. Goddamn.
I'm gonna go. I hate this show. I hate this show, and I'm mad that we have to watch it. And if I have to podcast about it because I have to watch it, I'm gonna play Bennett's stupid cat game to help him get as many cats as he wants because he doesn't want to actually play the game. He just wants to poke at the cats.
That's fair. And if we have to podcast this fucking show, then I'm gonna at least call out the eye candy where I see it.
The problem with the relationship.
Oh, I was like, with the show,
with
is that
7 of
it's a
9.
show.
Well,
Problem with the show is that it's a show that we have to watch.
I'm gonna put all the negatives on the show, and this is mostly the case, but more so with television series on the writing, because the writing in this, even
It's
this
garbage.
episode,
It's garbage.
that was paced. I'm gonna say this was probably the second best episode so far as pacing,
Yes.
as far as things happening, as far as characters we care about. It's gonna be so far as the second
There's
best
a
episode.
whole 2 characters we care about.
Yeah. Woo. 2.5. I think justice for Elnor. Like,
Yeah.
I like Elnor.
he's pleasant, which is different from literally every other character on this show.
I liked him making fun of Rios,
That was,
even
yeah.
though he wasn't actually trying to make fun of Rios.
Yeah.
He's nice.
I like how this show points out that there are no charismatic characters in this show, and that that's a trouble that they have, which is
I don't think you're saying the thing I think you're saying, show.
yeah, because like they point out that the one character that should be charismatic, which is the captain of the ship, like the quote unquote hunky captain.
The Han
swashbuckler
Solo.
guy
Yeah.
should be the charismatic one, and they point out specifically that he's not, and you have to think like, okay, who is on this show? You've got Girardi, who's just an awkward mess. You've got Raffi, who's just unpleasant, all like writing wise.
Yeah.
Performance isn't great.
He's just such a problematic character.
You have Picard, who's too sad to be charismatic. He does do some funny stuff in this, so like I'll give him that.
I'll give him that.
I don't know if it fit. I don't.
Not really.
I guess Picard does have a little bit of like
The
overacting
flair for
stuff
the theatrics.
from his what was it like? I can't remember. He's the detective character, like his Sam Spade knockoff from back in the day. I feel like he could get into that, lean into that sometimes when he was pretending to be that character. So I guess there's a little bit of that in there, but and then you have Elnor, who's like
not a presence unless he is actively saying something.
Yeah, he's like I don't want to say incel, but like he's like the quiet virgin character in the background that nobody notices
until they say something, and then just like, holy shit, I didn't even know you were standing there.
And so that's your cast of characters. Oh, then you have 7 of 9, who's angry about stuff like her. We find out that she's the ranger that the captain was talking about in the previous episode, which, since everything is so like obtusely, like things are just talked around forever, and like terms are thrown about that you don't care about and aren't related to anything.
The Fenris Ranger, the former Borg Fenris Ranger, 7 of 9, the former Borg.
She just
Fenris
goes by
Ranger.
7, actually.
Yeah, and it's the Fenris Ranger, and then it's the previous Borg Fenris Ranger, and then it's the previous Borg Fennis Ranger from the Delta Quadrant. Like, oh my god.
Jesus fucking Christ. It goes on for so long.
Also, she's not from the Delta Quadrant, by the way. She's literally from Earth, so...
Yeah.
They said it twice in the show that she was from that she got picked up in the Delta Quadrant.
The lines where they specifically say she's from the Delta Quadrant is incredibly wrong because she's just from Earth. She's literally a human that got sucked into a wormhole and dumped in the Delta Quadrant. So that's why when I say that this show just read the Wikipedia article about Voyager and didn't actually
so Voyager was coming through the Delta Quadrant, and around season 4 they pick up 7 of 9 who's a Borg, and then she becomes part of the crew. So she's a Borg from the Delta Quadrant. Okay, run with that.
Yeah. So, fuck you, show. She's not from the Delta Quadrant. She was in the Delta Quadrant.
It's like Janeway now is officially from the Delta Quadrant. Why don't we just go with that?
Yeah. Speaking of Star Trek Voyager, there's a little character that we all know and love called Commander Chakotay. And in the final season of Star Trek Voyager, him and 7 of 9 had a relationship together, which he apparently doesn't give a shit about anymore and has completely forgotten about because all she cares about now is Vajazzle. Bajimble.
I was preparing my body to rage quit this show because I had a feeling they were going to do a 7 of 9 was going to say some line of dialogue, and it was going to be about talking about her past and doing all this stuff with Starfleet. And I was just waiting for that line of her being and then after insert Voyager cast member died, everything got worse. And I was waiting for the moment. And I was like, I'm about to turn off the TV right fucking now if this show does that to me with any character. I don't care who it is. Any character they pull that shit right now, I'm out. Even if it's Neelix. If she's really broken up that fucking Neelix died.
Now, to be fair, she could have said that because I kind of blacked out during that scene. Because they keep doing this thing where they have two characters sit down and have the most boring conversation where they have to lay out their entire backstory in one piece of and after a couple of seconds I just kind of the writing isn't good enough to hold it. There's too many bullshit words that don't mean anything to me that they keep throwing around.
Yeah.
They combine bullshit words with a boring backstory that's pretty predictable. At the end of the day, I can't care enough to focus on it completely. I remember it entered my eyeballs, but none of it stayed in my head. So I have no idea. She could have literally said that the Voyager showed up at Earth and they crash landed into the ocean and she was the only survivor. And I would be like, sure, show.
Okay, show.
I'm not going to remember this, so it doesn't matter. Except I know that, I know it's not true because I've seen Insurrection.
I think it was Insurrection.
Or Nemesis.
One of those where Janeway pops up. But I know there's a 50% chance the writers of this show don't know that. So it could have gone either way. Despite how it sounds, I really do wish this show was good.
Oh, I 100,000% was excited and on board when we were going to do this show. I was like, Picard, we're doing a Star Trek? Yes, let's go. Let's get it.
It's going to be rad.
Oh,
no.
I think so far of the 3 shows we've done, I think this was the one I looked forward to the most. I literally was crying nostalgia tears during the previews when they showed Riker and Picard together. But I think at this point I'm worried that I'm just gonna there's 90% chance I'm not gonna care when I see them together again.
Yep.
Because I know the writing's not gonna be good.
This show has burned all of its goodwill.
It burned most of it in episode 2.
Oh yeah.
And it's it's very slowly clawing its way back into my good graces, but it's a very slow crawl.
Yeah, for me, it's taken too long to get there. For me, if I don't know, if you shit on my couch, and then you keep just trying to come over to hang out and You just keep bringing me like half-eaten bags of chips every time you come over. Like that's not what a peace offering is, and that feels like what this show is continually doing to me, and I'm about ready to not let it back in my house anymore.
Yeah, I think we're one not great episode away from not doing a week to week. Or not, we're one kind of bad episode away from
just reading the cliff notes after it's done and then coming back and talking about that.
Yeah. But I think like one dip in quality, and I think we're gonna toss the whole thing completely, because there are some maybe lights at the end of the tunnel that we'll talk about in the previews.
Yeah.
I think.
Or are they just lying to us again?
Well, I mean, all I'm gonna say is that if the track record for what we saw in the preview continues, then things do not look good for the next episode in terms of quality.
Yeah. It looks like they're gonna make up for that Soji deficit real quick. Which could be rough. One weird out loud thought that I had while watching this episode, like I want to say like 30 minutes in when it cut to commercial, I was like, wait, this is a Picard show, right? Because I feel like we got him a little bit in the last episode. He had some good moments. But I feel like he's only been in really 2 of these episodes we've watched so far, of the 5 episodes. Because it's been so much of these other characters, which we've already discussed, none of them have any charisma. And that's a problem.
That is a problem.
Elnor is pleasant, but he's not in it enough to be a presence. All the other characters we've already discussed. Raffi and her. So here's a trope that you get in movies and TV a lot. And I want to discuss it because I don't know if it's a thing that actually is as prevalent as in real life. So we get Raffi's backstory that she had a husband and son when she was discussing, or when she was helping the Romulans escape. And
Heather looked up from her phone for a second there.
And you've seen this a million times in shows and TV where the character that we're familiar with works too much, and all the other characters around them are real upset about it all the time. This is to varying degrees. Like a lot of the times you'll have like a character that needs to go like fight to save the world, and like their main character, their whatever their closest partner
spouse, family member
is like, no, you gotta just let the world end. You can't do this. And I'm just always like, this is the one person that's like qualified and equipped to save the world. Like, excuse me? Like, I understand not wanting them to die, but also be like, I mean, we're going to die if you don't do it anyway. So, it's always, like, it's been such a trope for so long where, like, oh, you do too much work, or you're too invested in your work. And, like, I know, like, that is a thing, but I don't know if it's, like, literally everybody, like, movies and shit, like, it's so overdone.
For an example of this, every single character in Independence Day is that character.
Yeah. And I feel like that's when it was played out. Like that's when it should have died. But now 24 years later, we're still dragging that dead horse through the mud. And it's like, get a different character trait other than family was upset you worked too much. Like, we've seen it so much already.
And what is the most confusing, and I'm sorry, I'm going to jump down on
Go
right
do
here.
it.
What's most confusing, however, is that when Raffi starts this conversation with who we learn to be is her son, which we had bets on whether this was going to be son or lover, just so everybody's clear.
Because the age gap was there, so I mean, it was a 50-50.
But she's a woman, so, can't do it that way.
I knew it was going to be your son because he was a woman. When she starts the conversation with her son, with Gabe, the conversation is, baby, I'm clean.
Yeah. And
I'm
then
clean and I'm starting my life over. And it's very clearly like, Mama had a pill problem.
She vaping too much.
Mama vaping too much.
but his problem was that she was part of Starfleet.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not that she was part of Starfleet. It was after. So what we're learning, and this is what's so fucking, Raffi is the worst written character. She is. I would like to assume that this woman can actually act, but she's being given 5,000 different directing notes and nothing in her script to go off of, because what we knew about Raffi before is that she's pissed at Picard because she got fired when he resigned, and she lived in a shithole for the years after.
She lived in a really nice double wide in a national park.
Yeah, a shithole.
Where she could grow her vaping flowers.
Yeah, like we said, a
Or
shithole.
devil flowers, whatever she called them.
Yeah.
Apparently that's Star Trek version of a shithole.
Of a shithole, yeah.
And she's real pissed at Picard for not coming to visit her too. So she already had a weird motive on what she was pissed at Picard for.
Yeah.
Because at first it was she's pissed at Picard because of something that happened. Then it turns out it's because she got fired because he resigned, which he had no control over. And then it turns out it's because he never came to visit her. So her son has the exact same why he's pissed at Raffi motion. And it's that she was not around. So she clearly was an addict of some sort. And because when he starts talking back to her, it's, even when you were around, you weren't around. Because she says that. And he's like, yeah, no, it was worse then when you were around. And she's like, I know, I'm so sorry. I'm clean. I'm starting my life over. And then he goes, well, now I'm pissed at you because you're the same person that you always were. And she's like, no, I'm different. And then he goes, oh, yeah, well, are you? Let's talk about your conspiracy theories. And this is when I actually looked at the screen and went, I think I'm going to turn this off now. I was going to reach for the remote and just turn the shit off. Because apparently Raffi has a conspiracy theory. And she literally used the word conspiracy theory about what happened on Mars.
Conspiracy theory starring Patrick Stewart.
She thinks that the attack on Mars, all of the synthetic life forms, it was something else happened. So now it turns out that her kid is pissed at her because she was investigating this and was obsessed with this. Yeah. Which is maybe her working too much, but it wasn't her working for Starfleet because it was after she got fired.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
she was smoking the vaping flowers.
Vaping the devil's lettuce.
Like, if you're gonna... So one of my biggest problems, again, with like her character is that depending on what scene she is filming, the actress acts a certain way. In scenes where she needs to be pissed off at Picard, she's just pissed off at Picard. In scenes where she needs to just be aloof and snarky, she is that. And then in this scene, and only in this scene, does she immediately become the, like, recovering addict who's maybe been clean a week as she's talking to her kid about being clean. Like, that whole thing plays as somebody who is literally just, like, waiting for their next score. But we've literally never seen that from her before in this entire show. If there was just a throwaway line from Picard when she was like, when he initially was meeting with her, of him just being like, so you still using? Or anything like that. Anything to set this up other than like her doing the Chappelle show, like coke addict itching. No. just to echo what you said, she is literally the worst written character on this show because they do not know what they want to do with her, so they're trying fucking everything.
The other problem, I think we talked about this in the last episode also, is that everything we're learning about her, we're learning backwards from what we should be learning it.
Yeah.
Like, first she's upset, then she's upset because she got fired, and then she's upset because we learned that she was they were close with all the Vulcans or Romulans that they were trying to rescue, and the Romulans are also upset. So it's like, oh, okay, so it's not just her being an asshole. It's like, this is a thing that people think.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing. It's not just like her being out of the blue, like, doesn't make any...
old man.
And now we're like learning that a new thing is like, this is the stuff that we should already know.
Yeah.
And I've like using us not knowing what a character's motivation is as a story point is never interesting to me. We've seen this. I think the one example I always bring up, because like it's the one thing that I think if it had been switched around, it would have completely changed my opinion, and I would probably like the film more, is Captain America: Civil War, where we have a villain. We don't know what's going on the entire time. And at the end, we learn, as a spoiler, that doesn't really change anything, that the bad guy lost his family, and that's why he wants revenge. It doesn't change the story at all. Like, it doesn't change. Like, the only thing it would have done is let us know what the fuck is happening the entire time in the movie, instead of just cutting away to these scenes that are like without any kind of context. So like, and that's the same thing with Raffi. It's like none of the scenes that we have with her are in the context of what we need to know to make the scene make any sense. And they need to stop doing that. So to go back to the beginning again, and I don't want to, like, trying to rewrite the show, I don't want to do that, but
somebody should.
Heyo. But I think comparing it to the Next Generation makes sense, because this is the sequel to that, and that's what you're going to be like. That's what you do the whole time, is you're comparing it to that. So, like, in the scene where they're showing Captain Rios doing the plan, and then it cuts between them doing the plan and not doing the plan, like in TNG, and I think it's more interesting, there's more drama to pull out of it, is you show them setting up the plan, you show them with their, like, and I guess it doesn't matter because none of the contingency, like nothing happens that that like puts the plan in jeopardy until the very end, and it's like an out of the blue thing. But like you show them setting up the plan, you show what they're prepared to deal with, and then you show them doing the plan, and you show something they didn't expect happens, and there's some drama about what's going to happen there, and like something interesting happens, and you don't know what's going to happen next. But instead, we are brought to the point where like something could go wrong, and we're immediately
flashback to why it won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of like having that knowledge beforehand would not have changed the scene at all, except it would have made it flow better.
Yeah, because it would have been on the audience to remember the setup of the plan.
Which brings me...
Is this the lie thing?
Yeah, so in the show, they say that these lizard men can smell lies. They can smell, like, I guess they can smell anything. Like, they can smell anything. They have magical noses.
Yeah.
They can smell anything. So which
is an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Just so we all.
Poor lizard man.
Which
is probably why he's so angry all the time.
Yeah,
it's like, why. I can smell literally everyone taking a shit.
Everybody in this dance floor has shit in their chonies, and I don't like it.
Learn to wipe, people. Learn what the seashells are for.
So he's got the super smeller.
The seashell.
That's a Demolition Man reference.
Oh, God.
So he's got the super smeller, and he pulls his gun, and he's like, I can smell a lie, so you got to tell me the truth right now. And then Captain Rios does his...
I don't even fucking know.
He pulls he pulls another accent out for this character that he's doing that is slightly more Spanish, but also a little bit French.
Texan.
Probably because he was
There's
doing
some
scenes
southern drawl that's coming out.
a little bit. But he probably was like accidentally picking up some French because he was in a scene previously with Captain Patrick Stewart. Captain Patrick Stewart.
Captain Patrick Stewart.
With his ridiculous French accent.
So he's also German,
Yeah.
depending on the sentence.
So he's pulling out his new accent. So it's like, it doesn't do a freeze frame on his face, but it does the closest thing to as a freeze frame on his face. Whereas like, he's gonna, any lie he tells, this lizard man is going to smell it.
Yeah.
Smash got to the past where Girardi gives him a shot of they call him benzos still, which doesn't make any sense because I don't think, like, doctors don't prescribe benzos now because they're bad for you and they don't do anything. So I don't think 300 years in the future we're still using benzos and say you're killing it, which fuck you, show. People don't say that now, or they shouldn't. Anyway, the writers are killing it.
Yeah.
So she gives him a shot of a bunch of some bullshit,
Some Girardi cocktail that is just going to turn him into a fucking stoner at the flick of a adrenaline switch.
Yeah, so he's not going to release cortisol or whatever when he has to tell a lie.
Yeah.
And then it switches back to the present time, and he proceeds to pull out a little chip and tell the truth about what he's there for. And I was like, why? All he's doing is saying that he's got 7 of 9 to offer. Like,
which is literally the truth.
That's the plan.
Because that is the plan.
Like, he didn't have him tell a lie. Like, don't just say this is a hologram of 7 of 9's skeleton, because that's 100% the truth.
That's actually what it is.
And then the scene ends, and you're like, he didn't tell a lie. Why did they give him a lie shot?
Oh, Jesus.
What the hell?
Christ.
What the hell, show? So that was a bad scene.
So that was just real bad. I'm with Heather. I fucking hate this show, actually.
I love Patrick Stewart and I love Star Trek still, but
He was barely in this.
this is barely a Star Trek
This is
show. It's featuring some Star Trek things.
This is a bad
And
Star
peas,
Wars
too.
live action show with some Star Wars stickers put on top.
Yeah.
And I'm not here.
I'm not here for it.
I'm probably the most up for it of anybody at this table. I would say overall, I have a negative opinion of the show, but I would say I'm the most charitable towards it.
Every time.
But only by we're I guess we were like 1 full point away last time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't.
Mad at it. I'm just mad at it.
All right. Let's fucking Clooney up.
Clooney's. I'm gonna give it 5.5 Clooney's. I think that's what I gave the last episode.
That sounds about right.
But I'm actually gonna give this 5 Clooney's because I think the last episode was actually a little bit better. I think the writing was better in the last episode. Pacing was worse because nothing happened until the end.
Yeah.
But the dialogue was better. This dialogue was worse. 7 of 9 talking about how Fajazzle lost her, let her get away, let her slip through her fingers, didn't hold on to her, all the other fucking things she said that were the exact same thing, all back to back, like
all back to back.
Not spread
the
out
one
through
who
the
got
show.
away, the one who slipped between your fingers, the one that you thought you'd never
The one
see
you were gonna
again.
give it up to, the one you were gonna let down, the one you were gonna let run. No.
Yeah.
Also called it Girardi's a bad guy, Girardi's a double agent.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah, I totally called that too.
God, that they could not have fucking telegraphed that anymore.
God, why?
When it kept cutting
all
back to her?
3 times. The 3 times it did. One is fine.
One is fine.
One is fine. I needed one look at her shocked eyeball face to be like,
Overhearing their conversation
I
to
got
like cast any doubt on her. But
And she was in frame every time too, because she was literally standing behind, like right over Picard's shoulder, and
But
you
just,
see her
like,
the whole time.
continuously just flashing back to her
reacting.
air quotes eavesdropping / air quotes reacting, but was just her making the same face.
Air quotes eavesdropping when they clearly knew you were in the room and listening because they weren't trying to be quiet. We're all on the ship for the same goddamn reason.
Yeah.
Also, I'll give, in a better written show, this would be a positive, but this show is so poorly written that it's a negative. But I will give them that they did trick us just because the writing's so bad. We thought that Girardi was upset because she was going to have to teleport everybody into the ship, but she was really upset because she was going to have to kill Bruce Maddox.
Yeah. I definitely thought that Homegirl was freaking out about having to hit a button.
Yeah. In a well-written show, that would have been like, oh, but here we're like, oh, or it's just poorly, everything's just too poorly written for it to actually make any sense.
To even land.
Yeah. So yeah, five Clooney's.
Yeah. The fucking, like we've established that the Doctor can pop up anywhere in the ship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the bridge in the first scene we see him in.
Yeah.
So he can go anywhere.
So why wouldn't he just immediately pop back up anywhere else on the ship and go tell somebody what was going on in there?
Because she dismissed him. It's like Baymax. You're satisfied with your care.
Okay.
So he's not going to pop back up until another emergency is arising.
There should be some sort of override, though, of just like, hey, the doctor of the ship is actively murdering somebody in sickbay. I should probably go alert anybody.
That's a security hologram's job, though, not the Doctor hologram's job.
So I'm sure the ship communicates with itself, so the security bro should have popped up and been like, hey, shit's going on.
Does it, though? Because it's Rios. Like...
Does it, though, because this show is trash?
That's more of the...
How many Clooney's of trash is it, though?
It is... I'll give it 4. Two for 7 of 9 and 2 for Vajazzle. Hey!
Hey-yo.
Gross.
What about... I can't... There's a joke there with their legs being 4 legs all next to each other.
I was going for boobs.
Oh. Either way.
Oh, God. And now Heather is questioning why she's still married to me. How many Clooney's?
3.
Cool.
For those of you that don't want the preview spoiled, I would suggest never watching the next time on if you're watching this, because they're going to give you the end of the episode in the previews. So if you don't watch them, you're smart, because otherwise you'll know how every episode ends.
If you don't want spoilers for the next episode of the show, don't watch the next episode of this show.
I will say, though, that this show does everything it can to show you what's going to happen at the end of the next episode, because
they know that's the only way they're going to get you back.
Also, like, they cut from, like, the show is just going, and then all of a sudden you're watching scenes from the next episode. Like, there's no,
there's
only one.
Next time, hon.
Or it's like a brief title card, but, like, none of these episodes have actually ended. Like, they just stopped airing. Like, the only one that did is when the ship shoots off into space.
Yeah.
But, like, every other episode's like, there's a scene happening,
and all of a sudden... The one where P2 goes, engage. That's the only one that ends.
Like, all the other ones, like, you're watching the show, and all of a sudden there's like, commercial break to the next, and then you're watching the scenes from the next, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? And you realize, oh, the episode's over. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That wasn't the end of an episode. That was in the middle of a scene.
Just be two people having a conversation, being like, yeah, I don't really like coffee anymore. I drink tea now because of the caffeine, and next time on.
Like, what the
fuck?
So, yeah, thank you for listening. I don't know why you are, but... We appreciate you. We appreciate all of you.
At this point, I can only assume you're listening because you like us for some reason.
It's me. They like me, not you guys.
That checks out.
That's probably true. We said too many shitty things on this podcast.
Yeah. I
apologize, all 3.5 billion women of the world, for existing. This episode, strangely enough, written by a woman. You wouldn't know it by listening to them. talk about these two women having a relationship together. If you don't hate us, head on over to the Moist Boys podcast. We're talking Carolyn Tuesday. We're talking Valentine's Day. We're talking 2019. Boy, it sure was the year, wasn't it, folks? It sure did happen.
It sure did happen.
And all the things that happened inside of it. All of that's available on the Moist Boys podcast. I assume the Action Boys podcast is still up and running eventually somewhere. We are in the middle of scheduling, so keep an eye out for that.
People would stop going on vacations.
Yeah.
Vacations are not allowed in the entertainment industry, especially when you're in a small podcasting organization like we are.
Are we allowed to say organization?
Sure, why not?
You can coin it.
Head on over to the Moist Boys Reviews. The review of Sonic just went up. Spoiler alert. It was fine. Some more movies reviews coming up soon that I'm excited about. Call of the Wild, starring a cartoon dog made to look 50% like a real dog, 50% like a cartoon dog in a live-action film. It's incredibly distracting.
Oh, God.
Even more distracting when you see the behind the scenes of a man in a gray suit simping for Harrison Ford for 6 months. So keep an eye out for all of that. And I feel like...
I feel like we've lost everybody. Okay, goodbye, audience. That was great. We've enjoyed having you around. We'll miss you all.
Stay tuned for March because we're doing
Anna March, where we will be talking about 4 different anime films because we did not remember that anime was a thing.
Now, to be fair, March comes first, and one of these things, the first one we're going to be doing, Weathering with You, was in theaters in January.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd remember it for 4 months. So we'll be talking about that soon, as well as some other ones. Specifically, A Silent Voice, I want to say, is one of them.
Yep. A Millennium Actress.
Millennium Actress.
And Fireworks.
That's one that so far only I've seen. I'm
Clearly,
excited to
Jonathan picked most of these.
see it again.
I only picked 2.
It was a 50-50 split. Also, keep an eye on our Patreon page because there are some changes afoot in the Moist Boys world, and if I am not mistaken, I do believe we are going to be releasing some exclusive Patreon content. Also, keep an eye on our Instagram page, instagram.com/moistboyspodcast. We are going to be doing some renovations in the old recording studio, and I'm going to be cataloging that and putting up some fun pictures about our process through that. We've got, I would say, 1/6 of it done so far. So there's
literally
1/6. So there's some fun stuff around that. Before we leave into the spoilers for next week, we want to do a segment that we haven't done in a little while. But that is our energy drink reviews. I am drinking Powerade Melon. I'm going to give it a...
That is a Gatorade, my dude.
It's a Gatorade, buddy.
It's a Gatorade bottle.
Oh.
But I'm keeping the bottle because the cap is a twisty cap with a little sucky on the end. I like that.
You like the sports cap?
Yeah, I got the sports cap on it, but I'm filling it with various fluids.
You're protecting the planet over there. Look at you recycling.
Well, I'm moving it from one bottle to this one.
Never mind.
So it's the same number of bottles, but sure, we'll go with that.
I was trying to hype it up. Okay. Jonathan and I are drinking Gatorade's low sugar Glacier Freeze. Lower sugar Glacier Freeze. It's got half the sugar.
Half the sugar.
I'm a fan.
It's actually not terrible.
It tastes like Jell-O before you actually
let it set.
Yeah.
I will say, despite what the haters may say, Gatorade is superior to Powerade.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I
and
will
the
not
freezes are the only way to go.
Oh yeah, any of the milky ones.
Arctic Freeze,
Glacier
Freeze.
Yeah, the Glacier Cherry.
Yeah, what's the purple one? The like something Surge one.
Super delicious.
Like glacial Surge or whatever.
My favorite one that I've never seen outside of the Costco like multi-pack ones is the melon orange is actually really good. It's a good combo.
I got one a while back that was like cucumber and something.
Oh, that one
Cucumber, limon. Something like
Yeah,
that.
I think it was that one.
Yeah.
I liked that one a lot.
I think it's the G2s, which are like the fierce flavors. Those are pretty good. Anything outside of the original orange, lemon, lime, fruit punch, I think are good. Grapes probably trash, but I don't like grape flavored things. So
Same
Cool Blue is awful. You can at me.
I think that's the one I tried that just tasted like ass.
Could be, yeah. I don't
Blue
know, like,
cherry's
Cool Blue
not great.
Cool Blue has just never been my thing. I would always just like take a red, regardless of what it is. I would take a red over Cool Blue.
Yeah,
But like the
sour apple was god awful. I couldn't get through that one. So yeah, Gatorade's good. Picard not so much.
I was gonna say, to be fair, the reason that I am drinking this is because I've got a cold and like my throat is just itchy as all hell.
And I'm drinking it because I bought, like, they were on sale. So I bought a bunch, and I'm getting through them, folks. Thank you for listening. And for those of you that watched the scene from the next episode,
Unlike the episode of the show itself, we're going to give you a pause just for a second.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like things might be going. So I was worried around episode 2 that this show would just drag on for all 10 episodes, and at the end of the season, Picard would finally meet Soji, and then the season would end, and it'll be bullshit.
It would literally be credits roll at the moment of their meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that.
I'm not 100% convinced we're not still going to live that life.
It could. It's possible.
Oh, that is true. We don't see them together.
Nope.
But there's at least they're going to be in the same
Vicinity.
cube area. So there's a chance.
Literal cube.
So you're saying there's a chance we might actually get a story in this goddamn show.
Might.
Because so far, folks, there's like in a serial series, there has to be a story that overarches the whole thing.
Unless you try not to have one.
They've been trying real hard not to have one this entire show.
So far, the story has been getting the band together. And this is kind of another one of those a little bit.
A little bit.
Even though the one member just left, which I'm assuming she's going to be gone. So 7 of 9 at the end of this episode, this goes off on her own. I'm
She'll be
assuming
back,
she's
folks.
going to be back in the last like 3 or 4 episodes.
She blows away her former lesbian lover.
Yeah. Which is, again, like having a sneaky secret lesbian and then disintegrating her. It's got there's some bad connotations there
Yeah.
that I don't want to get into. So there's a chance that this show might actually be doing something after this next episode. Enough so that I said, like, give it another shot.
Yeah.
Like, if it had been another, we got to go meet this character that's going to do something again, I would have said, like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
But there's a chance that something could happen that will advance the story finally. 6 episodes into a 10-episode series.
Goddamn.
So there's a possibility. That could be the last 5 minutes because there's going to be a lot of Picard flashbacks.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of Soji some flash everywhere.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be some more dirty macking. But there's a sliver of hope that something's going to happen in the next episode that sets up the last 4 episodes to be something. So there's a possibility. It's slim, but it's there.
It's there.
But folks, if you'd rather listen to us talk about things we like, shoot us a message, shoot us a DM on Instagram or email moistboyspodcast@gmail.com. We can. Our other plan was to maybe review some old episodes of TNG and Voyager that are relevant to this series. Specifically, like Best of Both Worlds, I think would be good. The episode where Picard actually goes to the vineyard, which I think is the next episode after that, might be a good one. Some 7 of 9 episodes, maybe a good Data. Data's daughter would probably be a good one because that's pretty relevant. Or is it Data's child? Could be Days Child.
Yeah,
Anyway. That would all be more entertaining than
this fucking show.
Hearing us complain that nothing's happening on this show except for some bullshit. Which I'm much more forgiving of hokey bullshit on TNG and Voyager because that's the tone. The tone of this is not hokey bullshit, but we're still getting the hokey bullshit.
Yeah.
Which I don't like.
We got another S-bomb in this episode.
Oh, yeah, Raffi dropping her. Folks, TV PG, please, for the love of all it is holy. That's all I ask.
I ask for a cohesive storyline and characters that I give two shits about and some decent writing. But, also maybe no cussing.
That's a fridge too far.
Say a fridge too far?
I did. A fridge too far. Hey, fatty, I got a movie for you. A fridge too far.
Speaking of shows that lasted their welcome, anybody have anything else in this?
No.
Fuck this show.
Let it be over.
It started off so strong, the halcyon days of episode 1 when we were like, hey, this is pretty good.
We were excited.
We were.
I
understood the arguments against it, unless the arguments were, why is Star Trek woke now? But, outside of that, I understood why people didn't like it. I still enjoyed most of it. And then
episode 2 is just a fucking freight train of disappointment.
Yeah.
Oh, the way things turned.
And I can understand, and this was a defense I had of Star Trek Discovery, of seeing a different side of the Star Trek universe, because the Enterprise shows and Voyager, maybe a little bit less of Deep Space Nine, was always the super everything's upbeat and everything's optimistic and whatever. But you always had those half of the villains in TNG were other Federation captains and admirals that were assholes. So it was a show where those are the recurring characters. I feel is a thing that could work.
Yeah.
But this ain't it, Chief. So, it could be done. You just needs there needs to be something. Shows need something is what I'm trying to say here. Shows need something.
Shows need something,
and so far,
it's not just randomly making one of your long. I mean, nah, I'm not. Yeah, whatever.
Bring Carlos Beltran back, you cowards.
Do it.
Bring back the old White Fox. He needs work, I assume.
Hurtful.
Yeah, thank you for listening, I guess. Why are you doing this to
Why are you doing
Why
this to
is anybody if you do
the sooner you stop doing this to yourself, the sooner we get to stop doing this to ours.
if you do enjoy this, shoot us a message at one of those places that I mentioned, because is this worth it? Is it not? Should we continue it? Should we try something else? Is there any other ideas you folks have?
Also, for anybody who maybe just didn't realize what they were subscribed to, or if this is you just realizing that Historic Materials is back, go listen to the other 4 episodes, formerly the After Show podcast. You can go find those.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe listen to Picard episode 1 and then stop.
Just stop.
But listen to our episodes on His Dark Materials. I feel that was a good show. We were pretty high on that one. To be fair, that show still has a lot to do, so I feel there could be a lot that happens that lowers our estimation of the series.
I highly doubt
it. Anything's possible. Yeah. If there's anything I've learned watching Picard, it's that no matter how high you think you are, they can always bring you back down.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna continue on Picard for at least one more week. I think this is essentially we're on a probationary period with this show, and if something doesn't happen pretty soon, we might send it back to jail. So
Yeah. The show's on thin ice.
but if we get a lot of listeners on these episodes, maybe we'll keep doing it. Who knows? Anything's possible.
I am willing to harm and debase myself for the listeners as long as both of those things just are me watching this show and then having to talk about it.
But that means we need some listeners, so please tell your friends and your neighbors. If you know anyone that is watching Picard, which I don't know if there are, let them know that we exist and that if they have the same opinions that we do, which judging from the one other review of Picard so far that I've listened to is possible. I don't know if that sentence I just said made any fucking sense. The show has broken my brain.
Yep. Just sign it off.
Yep.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.